Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and thank you for joining us for episode 48, where tonight we'll discuss the Everton game, do our best to analyse the United game, Lopetegui and the early impressions he's given so far, talk about the impact that Matheus Nunes is finally having, taking your questions and looking ahead to the midweek local derby against Aston Villa. I'm sure we're looking forward to that. As usual, the show is recorded live. I've taken some of your questions from Twitter earlier on. We'll try and get them on the show. There was a great response, so I couldn't get them all on, but I've picked a few out that I'd like to get on. But also join us on the show. We've extended the contracts until the end of the season due to interest in other podcasts. Delighted to have Chris Tyler and Mark Knock on as our two regular pundits on the Wolves Report. Happy New Year, gentlemen. Or maybe not so happy if you're looking at the results today and yesterday. Either way, let's take our mind back to a happier result. Maybe not a happier performance, but a result. Knocky, Boxing Day, fantastic first league game for Lopetegui. Result-wise, but who cares about the performance?
It wasn't great, but it was, it was to be expected. We haven't won away for about 14 years now, I think. So you can't be too worried about how we performed. It was just a case of getting a result, I think, and going a goal down in the manner that we did, as early as we did. You kind of felt it was going to be another one of them days. But they showed some real character, and they scored two absolutely fantastic goals for me, especially the first one. I don't think there's been enough spoken about the Matheus ball, the outside of the boot, to cut out the whole back line for Pedence to drop in and score, and the second as well is a classic Wolves breakaway. It was like watching a Sunderland Uno again. But the performance wasn't great. I felt Everton had they seemed to have an extra yard on us. They seemed a little bit fitter, a little bit quicker, a little bit more energised than we were. And if they'd have had a decent striker on a pitch, the game could potentially have been gone. They had some good moments, but we hung in there. We stayed in. We kept grafting. We kept working, and it got a lot of monkeys off our back, in all honesty, because it was the first away win for a long time. It's Lopetegui's first win. It's the first time we've come from behind from a long time away from home. So you've got to take the positives, and the positives are we won the game. It gave us a bit of a foothold in the season, I think. I would have taken 2 points out of the last two games, so to have three for me would probably a point ahead of where I anticipated us being. So, yeah, all in all, pleased with the result. Performance wasn't great, but there were some good individual performances. Some questionable decisions, I think, in terms of substitutions, but in the end, it worked out all right for us.
Absolutely. I think we all agreed that before Wolves played Villa that we needed to beat either Everton or United, ideally both. But I think the minimum requirement was to win a game, wasn't it? We didn't want to go into that game without a win, Tyler. We managed that. As you said, it wasn't. It was far from pretty and far from confidence building in terms of the performance, but the result should have boosted them. I thought the performance was a bit better against United, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But a refreshing change, Tyler, to see the manager make those three substitutes combine to score the winning goal.
Yeah, that was a big positive. We spoke after the game, didn't we? And that was the obvious thing that we were pleased about. You said the performance wasn't great. I thought it was desperate. I thought it was probably our worst performance of the season. I don't remember a team giving the ball away that much. Most of the stuff Everton created was because we cocked, or we gave them the ball, or we looked very nervous or shaky at the back. I want a bit of a mention for Collins, because first half he was probably Everton's best player. But second half, he did come out, he put it behind him, and he sort of carried that on into the United game and had a decent performance, which I know we'll talk about. You're right, boys, it's one of them. We all said that we need to, house and win against Everton, and we did it. We were terrible, but we beat them. But football is funny. The game, you think that would give us a lift and kill Everton. Everton go to Man City and get a point, and then we lose. So I don't think you can ever read too much into it. But yeah, to answer your initial question, the positive was those changes and having, 3, 4, 5 men busting the balls to get forward, to get on the end of a cross, which in the last minute of the game, that's what we want to see more of, isn't it? And that was the clear highlight of the game.
Yeah, there was very few moments of quality, and probably the three main moments of quality was probably Jose Sá's save, the opening goal, which we'll talk about now, and the winning goal. So the three big moments, the massive impact. Jose Sá, great save from some ridiculous defending. But let's move on to a positive. I was sat in the commentary box with Mike Taylor, and it was like, here we go again, another short corner. Didn't really like the look of that, and it turned out to be an absolutely brilliant goal. Whether the cross was meant for Matheus to strike on the volley first time, I reckon that was probably the plan. It was the old Paul Scholes sort of corner routine, wasn't it? Which I'm all for, something a little bit different. If you're getting a shot on target or a header on target as a result of changing the angle, I'm all for it. It's when you take a short corner and it ends up back with the keeper, that's when the fans sort of change colour. It's certainly, I don't know, it annoys us as well. But that goal, Tyler, was it was beautiful, wasn't it? The short corner, the touch. Matheus' touch, he looked like he was going to drill it, and then he's touched, and that lofted pass. I mean, it was rolling the years back, wasn't it? Just the grace he did it, and then Podence. I know he's got his stick, but it was a wonderful finish. It's one of those crosses that's so good, like it's hard not to finish well, isn't it?
Yeah, he did take it well first time, but yeah, the pass was exquisite. I mean, we've all criticised Matheus a little bit because it's obviously, his best years are now behind him, but you never lose your touch and your awareness and that ability. And the pass was naughty, wasn't it, really? And the right back was looking for offside, I think, just because he was embarrassed to be totally done. And the finish was nice. We've often criticised Wolves players for taking a touch or fluffing it. It was just nice to be a confident finish, 1-1. And then luckily we went on and won the game. But that was probably the only moment of quality in the game from us, I thought.
I don't know. I'd say the winning goal was quality as well. The way we broke. I think the interception from Collins and the way he sort of, instead of just hoofing it, he's found Matheus. Matheus has took the ball and turned. He sprayed the ball right then to Adama. He thought he was going to push inside, but maybe his confidence isn't high. He took his time. He's picked out his man. It didn't look like a great cross, but the cross actually was close to 3 Wolves players. Costa was quite close to a flick, and I think it was Guedes at the far post if Aït-Nouri hadn't got it. So it was great to have man in the box. For me, as I think one of you guys said before, it was a proper old school Wolves goal when we first got promoted.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think we spoke just after it as well about the Everton fans kind of causing that, because there was a massive, you could hear the cacophony of boos rolling down from the stand when they were playing safe possession football in the middle of the pitch. We're never going to score from that position. And I understand you want to win football matches, but from their point of view, if they get a point out of that, keeps us 4 points below them, it gives them a little bit more breathing space in a sense. And it's one of them, if you're not going to win it, don't lose it. But you could hear the frustrations, you could hear the boos, you could see the players panic. And I think eventually it was just Tarkowski who just launched one downfield, and we were in our shape, we were in a good formation. It was going to be really hard for them to break us down with a 60-yard pump forward, and we ended up breaking. But it was like watching us under Nuno. It was using the wing backs, it was using the pace, it was stretching the pitch, it was getting in behind them, it was bringing people out of position. And I think the real difference was, if you look at the substitutions we made compared to the substitutions they made, you're in the 93rd minute, whatever it was, every one of our subs are absolutely busting and got to get forward because they've been on the pitch, they're fresh, they're good to go.
Lampard mentioned this after the game. He mentioned that the difference in the subs that Everton could make to what Wolves could make, and that's something we've never had that conversation. We've literally never said. We're not used to subs coming on at half time or just after and having an impact. We're used to them coming on in the 80th minute and being frustrated. But Tyler, we've got to give the new manager credit for that. I mean, for me, it looked like a shut-up shop when Wolves were going to take the point and move on. But it turned out to be, I mean, it stopped the crosses coming into the box more. Well, we defended more against it. But then it helped really with just the counter, which was magnificent.
Yeah, I'm not going to read too much into it. I think, is it luck or judgment? Let's be honest. Like I said, if Everton do stroke the ball around, we get a point. We're probably all a bit disappointed. We took the goal very well, very clinically. The positive was the reaction to get in the box. That was the positive. Whether it's scored or not, obviously scoring helped. It was the impact the subs had. But has he really gone 3 at the back to change it to score a 95th minute winner? I'm not sure. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be, I think, very level-headed about that. It was Bueno was having a bad game, had to be replaced by Aït-Nouri. Hwang was having a bad game, had to be replaced by Adama. We were losing a bit of impact in the field, so Nunes had to come on. So there were probably substitutions that had to be made anyway.
Can I just jump in there, Tyler? How often, though, have we had the conversation when we can all see what's going on the pitch and it hasn't happened? And as Mike said to me after the game,
why aren't we starting?
Yeah, Yeah, I think Nunes had a knock. I don't think he was ready to start the last few games. I think he was save for the United game, which I thought it was excellent. But we'll move on to that shortly. Mike said to me after the game, he said, because I was describing Lopetegui as we have as an elite manager. Elite managers do the simple things the best, and those subs just all made sense. But how often do we say in the stands? I know we're all managers and experts in the stands, and it's maybe different to what we're seeing, but. It was there, wasn't it? They just all made sense. Right, we're losing legs in the midfield. Midfielder on. Huang's done. Let's get some pace on. Our left back, left wing back, he's tired and he's not having a great second half. Let's change it. Simple changes, match-winning decision.
You're going to give me more credit than I would.
I think for me...
I think they're obvious substitutions.
I think it felt at the time, though, it felt at the time for me that we were shutting up shop. I felt that we were going for a point. I thought we were comfortable with it. I didn't think that was substitutions made to win a football match.
Agreed.
I'm not Lopetegui. He's probably forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. But that's how it felt to me. It felt like, okay, we've got a point. Let's take the point. We move on. It's a foothold in the season. He came out afterwards and I think he said it was because we were struggling down the wings. We weren't getting balls in the box. We were suffering crosses on our own, which is fine. If that's the tactic that he implemented, great. Well done. But for me, I didn't get the feeling at the time. I'm kind of with Chris on this one. I think it was substitutions that absolutely needed to be made. But it was those substitutions that won us a football match. So however he's got there, he's got there. It doesn't really matter. It was to shut up shop. Everything he did won us that football match. So I'm not going to criticise him for that. But yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? I mean, if we end up with a point out of the game, I think we're probably reasonably pleased with that because it wasn't the best performance.
We'd have taken a point, wouldn't we, before the game?
It's a foothold. You've just got to get a foothold in the season from somewhere. You can't keep getting beat. You can't keep conceding goals. So if we draw that 1-1, I don't think we're too disappointed. I think he would have taken that. But they worked hard and they did put a right shift in. And sometimes we forget that these are very, very young men playing football and it is a confidence-based sport. If you're not playing well, you're in quicksand. You can't get out of it. So the performances have kind of been a result of us not feeling like we can win games. So we just need to get ourselves in a position where we feel like we can compete again. And I feel like in the last 2 games we've kind of seen that, which gives me a little bit of optimism going forward. But look, it's points on the board. That's the most important thing. If we're rubbish all season and we stay up by a point, then you won't hear a complaint out of me.
Absolutely. But I mean, if anyone knows on the live show that they can put in, the last time Wolves had 3 substitutions combined for a match-winning goal, I don't ever recall that happening before. I may have forgotten it and lost in the moment, but I'd certainly love to know. I don't know if Nocky or Tyler can. I'm not sure if they probably would without having a look back. But if anyone wants to Google or look at that, I can remember. Or maybe a match-winning sub that happens, an assist and a goal, but certainly not 3. A midfielder picking it up, spraying it wide, and then crossing it for a fullback to score. So yeah, delighted anyway. I'm going to give Lopetegui the credit because Wolves won the game. But just going on to what you said there, Nocky, as well. As much as it wasn't good, it looked, and there were a lot of players that looked stiff and like worried on the ball. It looked reasonably well organised, and as you mentioned, that most of the things that Everton did came from our own errors, not from great play.
Yeah, I mean, it was Chris who said that, the chances we gave them were our own fault, and I'm absolutely in agreement with that. But I think what we did do, we kept our shape very well. We didn't let them in behind us, and the only time they did get in was mainly off the back of Collins, who, again, I do think had a really good game against Man United, but he was all over the place for Everton in that one. I mean, he put Gordon in. He put, it was his poor pass that allowed them in. Gordon should have scored, and at 2-1, I don't think we come back from that. I don't think we get a point out of the game. So it was all basic errors, but I think they're basic errors off the fact that we're struggling and we're just not in a very confident place. Because the first couple of games of the season, I looked at Collins and I thought, this is Kilman Mark II. I thought we're a really good, solid centre half. You don't suddenly turn into a player who panics on the ball in the space of 5 or 6 games. You don't just become a bad player. So there's a good player there. He's a young lad. I think he's 21, 22. He's still learning his trade. So if we can get him back to the level he was for the first couple of games and get him alongside Kilman and just get this shape nailed down, get ourselves back. I think we struggle to get back into positions when we lose the ball. And I think if we can just get ourselves organised, that key that we had under Nuno was organisation. We always knew what we were doing. Everyone knew
there was a plan, wasn't there? An identity.
There was a plan. You lost the ball, you got back into your shape, You waited for the attack, you broke it down, you then broke again and got back into your shape when required. We haven't been doing that under Bruno Lage, so it's just getting that mentality back. And I think we've got the players who can do that, and we've definitely got the coach who can get us organised.
Absolutely. I mean, confidence is a huge thing, and I think you've absolutely nailed it there. Like Collins at the start of the season, he looked like a pretty good footballer and looked like a great bit of business at 20 million. But what I would say about his Everton performance is the first half he had a bit of a stinker, but to recover from that in the second half, to turn that round, to then to be solid, headers, tackles. I think he brought the ball forward a little bit as well when the opportunity presented itself. It was a really brave second half performance and someone that believed in himself. So again, we'll talk about the Man United game where I thought he was very good, probably one of his best games for Wolves. But just rounding off the Everton performance with Jose Sarr. Now, I think he did one crazy moment with a short pass out, which he seems to have one in the locker because he just wants to be involved. But he's come back, though, in terms of his shot stopping from not playing a lot of games, and he looks like he's in form because that one-on-one save, Gordon probably should have found the corner, but still, you've got to make the save. He's got down, he's read it, and he saved it, and you have to give him credit for that. I know you've played in goal a bit in the past, Tyler, so it's a great save for me.
Yeah, it was a good save. He'll probably admit himself he gambled. A bit like a penalty, wasn't it? He had to gamble, go one side. If Gordon rolls at the other corner, like Knocker said, it's 2-1 and struggling hard, but that was a good save. I know we'll come on to United, he made another point blank there. Looked a bit more commanding second half, wasn't scared to come out for crosses, and we know he had that wrist injury earlier in the season. That seems to be behind him now. And yeah, touch wood, he seems to be back to his slightly erratic, but yeah, decent best. He's a good goalkeeper, isn't he? So
well, you don't fluke of season of being statistically the best shot stopper in European football in the top leagues. I mean, he probably overperformed, but you don't get there without being a good goalkeeper. Now, I don't think he's as good as the top two keepers, but in terms of shot stopping and he's blocking, I think he's fantastic. So he just scared me when he's got the ball. I don't know why he wants to overplay it. I'm just at the old school. Put your book through it, son, and we'll just recover and we'll start again. It is a worry, but he saved the day at Everton. So yeah, Sarr's save, 2 great goals. I was delighted with that. One other performance at Everton I thought was really good, and not everyone will agree on this. I thought Nelson Semedo had one of his best games in a long time at Everton. He looked strong going forward, especially in the first half. I think he beat the fullback. He links up a little bit Hwang in the first half, although Hwang tied off quite quickly in that game, didn't have much of an impact. But I thought there was a couple of last-minute slide tackles and blocks, and I thought Semedo looked like the player he did in the first half of the second season for Wolves. Lockie?
Completely agree. Yeah, I think he's recovered from that Brighton mess. I think he needed that little break. He needed the World Cup just to get his head straight again, and he's in good form. There's a couple of little moments here and there, but that can happen to anyone. But he looks direct. He looks determined. He's getting himself into the attacking positions. He's defending well. He's not getting beat. His pace is coming in really handy for us at the moment. And he's a good footballer. You don't play for Barcelona and move for 40 million if you're a bang average footballer. So there's clearly talent there. And again, I'm still not 100% what his best position is. I don't know if he's best as a wing back or whether he's best as a full back. Whether long term he's going to be in the plans. I've got a sneaky suspicion he might not be, but he's definitely a player we can use.
Well, these performances of me, they're of one of two things. They're of a player that knows another right back's coming in, and he realised that, and he's had to up his game because he wants to keep his shirt. Or there's a player that's potentially playing for a move and might be going somewhere else. Because I know the Atletico rumours sort of lipped up a little bit, didn't they? And then they sort of went and they've talk of that. But I don't know. On and on form, Nelson Semedo, he's a very, very good footballer and very hard to get past, but unfortunately got subbed on Saturday for a ridiculous booking. But anyway, overall, Everton, I just want to finish off with to witness the scenes and not be in the scenes from the stand, to watch that away end, to see people tumbling down the stairs, to see Matheus Nunes rugby tackle Ain't Nori and go flying off the grass, to see the bench sliding on their knees, to see the madness of that, the feeling of that. I mean, we talk about this. It's a struggle to get a better feeling that, but to see that, to work for the manager's first league game, guys. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, but it was such a great see, and the reward for those Wolves fans. It was freezing cold. It was horrible there. It wasn't a great performance, but to go all that way on Boxing Day, no public transport. You know what? Sometimes you get what you deserve, and plenty of those fans would have done the miles. So yeah, it was great to see, and I know you guys would have watched it as well. But it was absolutely brilliant. Tyler, we'll start with you on this one. This could get a little bit interesting. So move your children or anyone vulnerable to a temper away from the your screens. Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Manchester United 1.
Where I just thought Everton was disgusting, this was probably slightly better, but I'm seeing quite a bit of praise for us, but I don't quite understand why. Again, I think we look quite solid, but we could easily have been sort of 2-3 goals down again on another day, and that's the concern. I just think going forward, we are just woeful. There is nothing there, and I think until that changes, we can talk about, players, form, tactics till we're blue in the face, and still we start looking like a threat going forward, we're bang in trouble. There was that inevitability, have I said that right for me, that United were going to score. And
I did feel like that myself.
We praised you rightly praised the substitutions for Everton, and I got a bit of stick on Twitter for praising him for them, but I thought he got them wrong against Man United. There seems to be this trend, obviously it's only 2 games, but creeping in that we're going to a back 3. A centre-half coming on after 65, 70 minutes and getting up to speed in the game where he doesn't have to, for me, doesn't sit right. I'm not going to be critical because, like you said, he's forgot more about football than I'll ever know, but that just didn't seem right. Semedo was a yellow card, but we looked comfortable defensively. The Johnny substitution killed us. I don't know, there's just so much wrong with it, I thought. Hwang, how he's keeping his place there. So yeah, I saw a bit of praise, but I wasn't too sure why. Nunes was a highlight. Collins was a highlight. We do look a bit more solid, but I wasn't overly pleased with the performance, to be honest.
Just a quick question back to you then before I get Knocker's take on it, Tyler. So the manager rolled the dice at Everton, got the win, luck or judgment, whatever. You have to praise because he tried it and it worked. And he tried to roll the dice against United. In theory, then, if he doesn't roll the dice, Man United probably don't score. We draw 0-0. If he doesn't roll the dice at Everton, we might draw 1-1. We'd be on 2 points. So if he rolls the dice, technically, we're in a better position. For me, for being brave. Yes, I agree. There weren't the right changes, but we didn't know there were the wrong changes at the time because they'd worked the last week. So are we though happy that he did roll the dice again and he tried to beat Man United the same way as he tried to beat Everton? Or I understand it was wrong, but it's hindsight though, isn't it?
I'll go back to Nocky and Mine's point. I think he made the substitutions at Everton to not lose the game. And I think he did the same on, when was it? I don't remember, it was yesterday. to not lose the game. They weren't substitutions like Nocky said Everton to go and win the game. It wasn't taking the defender off and putting a striker on. It was going 3 at the back. I've got no issue with going 3 at the back as long as you maintain that threat the other way. As soon as Man United scored, it was game over, wasn't it? We all knew that. We're dead and buried. So yeah, he lives by the sword and he dies by it, doesn't he? I'm only going to be critical when I can see it, and I'll praise him when it's right as well. But I thought, I just don't like this substitution of bringing Totti on after sort of 60, 70 minutes. It just doesn't sit right with me. And I just thought, as soon as Semedo went off, I mean, if he got sent off and he'd be down to 10 men, it was like going down to 10 men when Johnny came on, wasn't it? Let's be honest. So, you make a good point, Ryan, but he's going to be judged on those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. He hasn't
got the time to not be judged on them. He's going to be judged on everything because of how critical it is. That's the thing.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'd rather him keep rolling the dice and win one week and lose the next, because we're going to end up with more points if that's the case, because fortune favours the brave. Sometimes, though, you get beat by a better team, and if you've got someone to bring on like Rashford, then it's a pretty good substitution. Nocky, just moving away from the game, and I hadn't put this on the list, but I was thinking about it. And I'm not blaming this for the outcome of the game, but yeah, it's another infuriating officiating performance. I just can't understand how it keeps happening. The game against Arsenal, going back to, it's a blatant penalty. It might be a red card, it might not be. Worst case, it's a penalty against Arsenal. Now, we've got Semedo. He looks like he couldn't wait to book Semedo. As soon as he just couldn't wait to get the card out of his pocket. Then we've got Casemiro clattering people, no card. Fred comes on, he's taking everybody out, and like, where's the consistency, Nocky? I don't know. I know someone tweeted earlier on we should do a show about referees. Now, just to jump in with this, I have been trying to sort a podcast out with 2 former Premier League referees. Just getting them on at the same time, he's proving to be difficult, but they both said they'll still come on. So hopefully we can have that chat that whoever tweeted about that earlier on. But Nocky, it's hard enough against multi-billion pound organisation football teams as it is, isn't it? So what chance have you got when the wind's only blowing one way?
Well, if you're going to beat a team like Man United, you need a bit of luck and you need a really good performance, and you need the referee to be on his game, and he was absolutely appalling for me. And I know people will say that you're making excuses. I don't think we lost the game because of that. I think we lost the game because of goals. But when you look at the booking for Semedo, which for me, I don't think that's a booking. I mean,
50-50, yeah.
He couldn't wait to book him. He couldn't wait to book him. Casemiro puts the same foul in, no booking.
But the issue I've got with it, if you're going to give that as a booking, fine. But you've set the standard now. You've set the bar. So when Casemiro body checks someone, that's a booking. Now, the thing that's really frustrating for me, if he books Casemiro for that initial tackle, which he should have done because it was shortly after the Semedo one, in the second half, when Adama bursts past him and we end up in a 4-on-3 situation, he doesn't bring Adama down.
He doesn't get sent off.
Or he gets sent off, which puts us in a position where we could potentially score a goal. He doesn't do that. Casemiro can then take the booking. United are back in shape, and we lose an opportunity as a result of it. And it was the same with Fred. Fred raked his studs down the back of Ruben Neves. That's a horrendous tackle. It's a booking every day of the week. He doesn't get one. He then gets booked further down the line. There's so many little incidents like that. And I understand that referees have got a difficult job, and I'm not asking them to get every decision right, but I'm asking them for consistency. You need these decisions that are going to cost you football matches to be right. And if he books Casemiro, as he should have done, we have an opportunity to score in the second half, but he doesn't. And it wasn't just that. There was lots of niggly incidents. There was a header in the injury time on the edge of our box. I think it was Kilman went over a defender. Nothing wrong with it. Bang,
Kilman was just stronger. But not only that, I want to just talk about, and great points, Nocky, by the way. Let Tyler jump in as well. The Semedo booking inevitably meant that on that side of the pitch, when you got Rashford running at you, he's going to be vulnerable. And then you bring Johnny on, and it's no disrespect to Johnny, but it doesn't seem like the player he was, and he doesn't have the legs that Semedo has. So hindsight's a wonderful thing. Does a not booked Semedo get skinned by Rashford cutting in? He may do, but I think we've got a better chance of defending it if he's on the pitch as opposed to it's Johnny. Tyler.
Yeah, I'm sort of a knocky. I've not really got an issue with him booking Semedo as long as that is the benchmark for the rest of the game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It wasn't Semedo's first foul. He had committed 1 or 2 others. I've got no issue. It's 50-50. But considering they've been told by the refereeing association to be a little bit more letting the game flow, not pull up the referee, I'd only go back to Everton. The referee at Everton foul. Now, they've been given a clear directive where they should be letting the game flow and not flowing for everything. So we probably do need an hour on referees on for it. But I just think no issue really with Semedo. But like Nocky said, as a paying football fan, you just want consistency.
Absolutely.
And fairness. And if they're giving one, they need to give it for the other. But I'm with you, boys. It didn't make a difference in the result of the game. We didn't do enough to win it, in my opinion.
Can I just jump in on one more point on that? We're going back to the referee. Man United made 2 injury time substitutions, and he played 15 seconds past the 5-minute mark.
It's because they sprinted off the pitch, Knocker.
It's just frustrating, though, isn't it? Because I think since the Super League disaster came in, I find it very hard to think that the top 6 teams who are trying to break away aren't getting a lot more decisions than the rest of us. And people say it's sour grapes. And as I said before, I don't think we lost the game.
Well, we're unanimous here. We've all agreed that it probably didn't affect the outcome of the game. Yeah. So we're not blaming that. But what we want is consistency. And going back to that Arsenal decision for VAR was disgusting. How it's your job to look on a monitor to see if it's a penalty. It is a penalty. Then you decide it's a red card. Worst case, Wolves have an opportunity to take the lead before half-time against Arsenal. How did you miss that? It's your job. Your only job is to check.
It's all the time against the big teams. When was it last season when Pogba took out Neves? He didn't give a foul, and United scored from that. You can go back to just about every time you play one of these.
Handball against Man City.
It always goes. The Martinho, it hits him on the armpit, and he gives a penalty. There's always a reason, and there's always a rationale to give it to them. And when the refs are chatting to them, they always seem to be on first line basis with these top players, and they're hugging them and they're tapping them on the shoulder. It stinks for me what's going on in our officiating at the minute. I think there's so much wrong with it, and there's a reason our refs aren't getting.
You've started him, son. You've started him.
It's true though, because it's, you know, you pay a lot of money to watch football, and I don't pay to watch the referee. A good referee is a referee that you don't even know his name at the end of the game because you didn't see him have any impact in the game. You pay a lot of money for this, and managers get sacked as a result of this. Teams get relegated as a result of poor officiating. I just think the biggest league in the world, the most financially giant of a football competition anywhere in the entire footballing world, and you've got some of the worst officials anywhere in the game. And, you know, you promote them for the Championship. If they have a bad game, they get demoted back to the Championship. Well, why do they get demoted to the Championship? Football's just as important in the Championship as it is in the Premier League. So if you're not good enough at our level, you're not good enough at their level. So the whole thing just needs complete restructuring for me.
So we've only got another half an hour.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
It's no problem at all. But it's an interesting debate. And as I mentioned, I have spoke to 2 ex-Premier League referees. We're hoping to get them on a show. We'll do it as a separate show. We can have a refereeing special, and I think we get some fantastic questions for that. So that's a positive. Bobby Smith wrote one of the nicest things I've ever read. Is the Wolves report the nearest Wolves fans have had since a load of ball? That's a huge compliment. I used to buy that. I remember when I was quite young going to there. So Bobby, that's very, very kind of you, and it's almost nice as like tweet Tyler smiling at me one day, which only ever happened once, and I think that was at Man United away. So, yeah, just moving back to the Man United game, performance-wise for me, I thought it was so much better than Everton. I mean, I know Tyler's probably not going to agree with that, but I thought they were more compact. I thought they were more comfortable on the ball. We're playing a far superior opponent than Everton. Everton are terrible. They've somehow managed to get a point at Man City. That's football. Don't get me wrong, Wolves weren't very good at Everton either, but they were fortunately in favour of the Brave. Now, I thought it was a better performance yesterday, Nocky. I'm not going to say Man United weren't the better team because I think they were. I don't feel shortchanged by losing the game, but the performance, despite the loss, I feel like, I know this is a minimum expectation, but it looks like you can see the plan again. They're playing for the manager. They're almost sort of re-establishing an identity. They're playing for each other. The team looks hungry again. It looks like they've got a shape. Nocky. Yeah,
I agree. I know we've had a debate about this on our WhatsApp group, and Chris we know the camp Chris is in on this one, but I think, you know, United are top 4 for a reason, aren't they? Because they're better than most of the teams in the division, and they've got a bigger budget, they've got better players than we have, so you've got to try and find a way to be organised against them. You've got to get your shape right, which I think we did. We just never looked like scoring a goal. That's the frustrating thing. And I don't understand the substitution. I don't know why we went to 3 at the back. I don't think there was any need to do that. You can't think you can do the same thing against Everton and you're going to get the same result. It was a bizarre decision for me. I love Johnny, but if he was a horse, he'd be in a tin of dog food by now, wouldn't he? Because he's absolutely gone. I think that it was just, there was some strange decisions from the manager on that one. Totti, for me, the jury's massively still out, and I don't think you can put him in there against the likes of Casemiro and Rashford, because he's going to get hurt. There was real positives for us. I thought Collins was excellent. He went on a run in the second half. We beat 3 or 4 players. I thought defensively we looked really, really solid. It was an excellent performance defensively. We didn't give them a great deal, but the goal itself was really poor. You've got 3 players there who can make a tackle on Rashford, and they will just watch him walk through. So it was better. It was better than the Everton game. It was a game-on-game improvement, which under a new manager you want to see. But we just don't like a lot of scoring goals. We haven't got a goal anywhere in the team, and if you don't score goals, you're going to get relegated. But saying that, Neves has a free kick that the goalkeeper saves, and we have a header from Raul in the last minute, and we're almost talking about 4 points from 2 games.
Absolutely. So, at 1-0, you're always in the game. You're listening to or watching episode 48 of the Wolves Report with Chris, Tyler, Mark Nuck, and myself, Ryan Lester. We've been analysing the Everton game and now just about to finish off on the Man United game. I get the changes were wrong, but if you're in the same situation of wanting to, maybe not the same changes, but I still wanted to make changes to try and win the game, it's nice for me to have
so aren't they? They're exactly the same man for man, which I didn't understand. That was
let's be honest. Why is Totti coming on in that game?
I honestly don't know.
We weren't getting overrun, were we?
No.
Understanding.
if that was Bruno, we'd be sat here and you'd be taking Bruno Lage to town. We're letting him off because he's a new manager. That's the only reason.
And he's won our first away game since I had black hair.
But more by luck than judgment, if we're being brutally honest. I will never understand that substitution of Dontamere. I mean, the guy can barely stand up as it is. To bring him on in that game where Rashford's just been brought on, just made no sense to me. You could just tell we were just a bit uneasy shape-wise from that. And knock it right on Johnny, unfortunately. I mean, what a player he's been for us. One of our best. But he's nowhere near up to it. Nowhere near.
Thing is though with Johnny, after he came back from his second cruciate, those first few games, I think he got 2 goals in 3 games, and he looked a player again. Now, so a bit like Raul did really when he first came back against Southampton. He's shown a flash, but it seems to be harder to find now. I'd love to be wrong, but if Wolves are looking at a right back, I'd be really surprised if Semedo and Johnny are both here come the end of January. But I'd love to be proven wrong because both of them have been, especially Johnny, he's been one of the best fullbacks I've ever seen. Peak Johnny, that got the Spain call up, he was unbelievable. He could use both feet. He contribute at both ends of the pitch. great footballer. too much alcohol for me. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Just finish up on the Man United game. Probably just about the right outcome. I think Wolves could have probably got a point, but if they make no changes, does it end up 0-0? We'll never know. But I've got to finish off and say I wasn't disappointed with the performance. And now it's great that we don't agree because if we come on agreeing all the time, it will be boring. I saw a lot of positives. I like what I saw against a team that's currently in a Champions League position. So I've got no real complaints. And the fact he's only working with the players that he's got from the previous managers, and there's this difference already. We've got 3 points from 2 games. That's not happened for a while, and we're through to the quarterfinal of the cup. So I'm trying to find some positives. So, any final thoughts on the Man United game, guys, or we're moving to Lopetegui?
Well, I'm with you. I think there's positives to take. I think it's a game-on-game progression, but the issues are still glaring, aren't they? And if we don't address them, then we're going to go down.
Absolutely. Just moving on then, it's sort of smoothly going into first impressions of Lopetegui. Now, we all mentioned this in his interviews. He's got a real presence about him, hasn't he? And this guy, I don't know what he's doing it on purpose, but you just got your top on. Well, I've got my coat on. I'm freezing. You stood there on the touchline. All right, mate. I know you're tough. You've done it now. But Tyler, first impressions on Lopetegui.
I just like his dress sense, to be honest. He uses cool. I was a bit disappointed the roll neck came off at Goodison, to be honest, because as you know, for the Christmas special, I've sort of he's my role model now, fashion sense wise. He's an elite manager. That's all we've got. I think that's the only genuine thing that I'm clinging on to is the fact we've got an elite football manager. Why I've got an elite football manager that keeps picking Wang, I don't know, but I'm sure that'll change at some point. But I'm so worried about relegation. He's the only thing I've got to cling on to. That's how highly I rate him. The players have talked about him, saying that everything's changed, the atmosphere's changed, training's better, it's more enjoyable. Like I said, they do seem to be playing with a bit more of a smile on the face. As we talked about in the last couple, he just hasn't got any time, has he? And that's my only worry, the lack of time. He's got to get a solid, organised, but also scoring goals. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that in the short time frame that he's got.
First impressions, Knocker?
I like him. I think 2 games in and we can see progression already, and that's with no additional players coming in yet without us hitting the window. So I think you've got to take the positives out of that. He needs a full window. I think we'll have a better idea when we come February. We know exactly what we've got to work with. He's kind of a no-lose for him. He's got to win 8 games. That's his whole target for the season. Win 8 football matches. We'll probably stay in the division. So he's got very little can go wrong for him. He's just got to try and find those results. And he's an elite level manager. You can feel there's a difference. We seem a lot more organised. The players seem a bit happy.
They seem happy, don't they? And one thing I would say as well is, we haven't really mentioned this, but the players actually look fitter. They look like there's a bit more spring in the step of the players now. I don't know if confidence is up there because they were really stiff at Everton, but they did not stop running. They were up and down that pitch the whole game. So there's already, for me, a physical difference. Now, whether I'm being kind on that and anyone else agrees or disagrees, but for me, the team looks sharper in terms of their physical state. So yeah, I mean, Obviously, he's been given a lot of guarantees. There's no way he's coming to bottom of the Premier League without a bundle of money to spend. And we'll move on to shortly to Matheus Nunes that's coming, that's available for Villa on Wednesday. But before we do that, I want to talk about one of our other record signings, Matheus Nunes, and the impact he's had in the last few games. Starting back when I was sat with you before Christmas, Tyler, for the Cup game, came on, made a difference. Came on at Everton, made a difference. Started against Man United, probably Wolves' best player, would you say?
Yeah, I think some of the signings we've questioned. He was one that we haven't really questioned. I think he was one we were just saying, you can tell there's a quality player in there. You just can see, can't you, sometimes. And it's starting to, bear fruit now. I think he came out, didn't he, admitted he's not been anywhere near his standards. He's not been where he needs to be. He looks like he's got everything to his game. He looks like, I've never seen such a natural sort of ball-carrying midfielder.
The way he just drifts forward, it's lovely, isn't it?
He's happy to have 2 or 3 around him, and he'll just be like gone. So yes, him and Neves are, probably the 2 that we can bank on. I think moving forward for like solid, consistent performances. Playing in his natural position helps. He was getting it nice and deep at home to United, and obviously he was involved in the goal from a deep position at Everton. So, like Mike Taylor said, they do the simple things, don't they? And he's just put in the right position, and now we're starting to see the best of him. So, yeah, I'm hopeful on him. If we can stay up, I'm sure we keep hold of him. He just looks a good footballer.
Yeah, Nocky, for me, these last 3 games, I know he's coming on against Gillingham in the Cup, but you can only come on and affect a game what's in front of you. And for me, he's had a positive impact. 2 sub-appearances, obviously Everton involved in the goal, involved in driving forward against Gillingham, and against Man United, probably Wolves' best player. So it's nice that when a player admits, I'm not angry with him because he always looks like he's tried. He just looks like he shouldn't be playing as wide right of a 3-centre midfield and higher up. It doesn't suit him. But when he picks the ball up and drives, as Tyler said, he's deceptively quick. The strength and the way he goes forward. And I think when he has someone else in that number 10 position, no disrespect to Joe Martinho, someone that he can link with there, I think we'll start to see goals coming from him as well, Naka.
Yeah, there's real quality there. You can see on the ball he's really comfortable. He doesn't panic. He can get himself out of real difficult situations. The vision for the goal was excellent for the Everton goal. He could have just lumped that forward and got us out of trouble. Instead, he picks a pass out to Adama. So there's a very talented player there. I still want more. I want to see more from him. I don't think he affects us high enough up the pitch. I think he's capable of getting goals for us from midfield. I think he's capable of creating a little bit more. I'm not seeing that at the moment, but there's obvious quality there, and he's only going to get better. I think if we could get him in that midfield with Neves and then Boubacar Traoré in the 3, that's going to give him more room to play, and Boubacar can do the horrible stuff and give him a little bit more room. But he's clearly going to be a quality player. He's got a bit of Neves about him. I think when Neves came in the Championship, it took him a couple of games to settle, but he's playing against, no disrespect, but lesser opponents, and he gave him more time to settle. He got more time on the ball. Nunes does remind me of him when he first came, but obviously he's playing against higher level opposition. So give him a few more weeks, and I think you're going to see the best of him.
Yeah, hopefully so, and hopefully he has a great game on Wednesday night. That'd be a nice start. But just want to question something on what you said there, Nocky. Not saying that you're wrong, but in terms of, I think he's at his best in the 2, and I'd like to see him in the pivot with Neves. I think when he's played as a 3, I think we've asked him to do something he doesn't really like and get the ball further up. Now, if that, for me, the preferred 3 midfields would be Boubacar, Neves, and Nunes. But then, are we going to go back to the Nunes before, who's someone who isn't comfortable in playing that position? Or do we now say that Nunes and Neves, we want them as the pivot?
Ideally, I'd want the 2, but I'm not sure if we're good enough to do that. In all honesty, I think we need to protect our back line a little bit more, and I don't think we're creative enough going forward. So, as it stands at the minute, I still go 4-3-3 with Nunes, but long term, I think Neves and Nunes are your options, definitely.
Well, it's in a few links to Mario Lemina, ex-Southampton. He's now playing in France, and he's definitely someone that's mobile, that can carry the ball, that could potentially slot into that sort of midfield, stroke 10, higher up 8, playing up there. So we'll see how that goes. But it's nice that we're finally getting our money's worth. But as Nocky said, hopefully there's a lot more to come. And there should be. If you're paying like the best part of £40 million for a footballer, then we should be expecting high performances. But going back to what Mike Tyler says, that the best managers do the simple things, and that starts with playing your best players in their best positions and not trying to sort of manufacture it to get everyone in the team. But hopefully we see more of that going forward. This is episode 48 of the Wolves Report with myself, Ryan Lester, Chris Tyler, and Mark Knock. Tweeted out asking for some questions, so I've picked a few of those questions off. Thank you for your comments so far. The show is recorded live. I try and get as many comments up on the screen as possible, and if they're clean enough. So I hope you've seen those, and thank you for your contributions so far. So I've got a few questions. Ezra's come up with a banger, and he's pretty much stole everyone's questions, so we can share this one out. It's a great question. Ezra, where are the other two signings by January the 1st? Well, we thought there were going to be a few. Who should we sell to fund the new signings, and what's going to be our formation? I'll answer the first one because the other ones will be more fun for the boys. I think the plan was to get two in before, get them over the line ahead of today and ready for Villa. Obviously, that's not materialised. We've got Matheus Nunes in, which I'm delighted with. I don't know about any of the others, but clearly they're not as advanced as we thought they were. But Nocky, we'll go with you first in this one then. Well, actually, you can both have this because it's a great question. Who should we sell to fund new signings? Give me two players that you'd sell, Nocky, and then you can do the same. Two different ones, Tyler.
I'm not sure if they make us a lot of money, but Johnny, Raul, I mean, wages-wise, it's going to be a big impact for us.
Any other reasons?
I mean, if I could add another one, it'd probably be Guedes as well, because I don't think he's worked. I don't think he's going to work. But I think Raul doesn't seem happy. I don't think he wants to be here anymore. I think he wants to go. And Johnny now, he's past his best. He signed a new contract for us when he signed for the club, and I think he's probably on decent money. I don't see us getting value for money out of him for the rest of his contract.
Okay, Tyler, what players would you sell to fund any new signings?
All of them.
Oh dear, I knew that was coming, didn't we?
You've probably got. I mean, you can sell some of those that Knocker mentioned. There's probably a bit of Deadwood knocking around as well. How much would you get for the likes of Ronan, Sanderson, Giles? You know, you might get a bit of money there, but we've got a lot of players that aren't at the level they need to be. And I think I said the other week, apart from really Neves, Nunes, Sarr, we're no worse off if we lose any of them, really. So if we lose one and we can bring in two better quality players, I'll do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, moving on to number 3, going on to the formation. Now, it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, it looks like it said a 4-2-3-1 when we're attacking, and a 4-3-3, 4-5 when we don't. Martino seems to, like he did mention after the Everton game, that he was kind of playing in a 10. Now, in terms of his footwork, he's probably the best player to be a 10, but in terms of mobility, getting up next to the forward, you'd probably want Podence there. So, I mean, how do we see it then, guys, going forward? Is it going to be the 4-3-3, as Knocker said, with Boubacar in there, or Tyler, or is it going to be a 4-2-3-1 with an actual 10, maybe moving Podence inside?
Yeah, I've been inclined to go with Knocker's way of thinking. He's a 4-3-3 man by trade, isn't he? I'm a bit with you, Ryan. I don't know if the Boubacar slightly then balances those two together. This is what he's got more questions than answers, hasn't he? As we said before, I don't like him going to a back three with 20-25 minutes left. I don't see the point in that. So I'd love to be 4-2-3-1 with Neves, Nunes and a genuine 10, but again, Knocker's probably right. I'm strong enough to do that. I suppose all we want from a 4-3-3 is a bit of fluidity. We need goals from Boubacar, we need goals from Nunes, we need goals from Neves, don't we? So I think I'll be 4-3-3 myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. I'm just concerned that we wouldn't see what we've seen out of Nunes, picking the ball up from deep, dropping the shoulder, turning, beating two men, and Wolves counter-attacking. That run he did late on, or mid-second half against United was fantastic when he was driving forward. To have that engine there, I wouldn't want to play him sort of narrow left or narrow right and take that off him, but I'd be wrong. Ezra, great question. Thank you very much. Kev Taylor, I think he's stolen there. I didn't really look at that, but what players need to move on from the first team squad? Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year, Kev. Thank you for your contribution. I didn't give you any players to move on, but I don't think we can keep all of the forwards. I think we're going to see Jimenez or Costa now, obviously, because Costa's new. I think it'd be likely that Jimenez moves on. I don't know, roughly 75, 80 grand a week. It's a lot of money. And if when Nunes starts as well, is Jimenez then third in the pecking order? We can't have someone on 75 grand as a sub. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went to maybe Club America, went to the MLS, and I wish him all the best. I'd love to be wrong, as I always say that. I love Jimenez, but he looks miles off it. But saying that, though, he did have an impact when he came on in the last couple of games. He hasn't done too bad, so I don't know. But either way, if he stays, great. But I want him to make an impact. But he's going to be no good to anybody, him being third choice. So thanks for your question, Kev. There, let's have a look. This is a good question looking forward, and it's a nice positive one. Vorney asks, how many of the squad can JL take on the journey? Now, that's a really good question. I like that. So you're basically telling me you're in for the long term, long haul. You believe it, Vorney. You believe in the project. I like that. Tyler's face says otherwise. So, Nocky, you're ear to ear with teeth now, Nocky. So, yeah, how many of these players can go on the journey?
It depends what the journey is. I mean, what we're thinking. If we're trying to get back to where we were in the top 10, maybe 4 potentially. I think Neves, Nunes. You're struggling, aren't you, in terms of what's going to get us up there, attacking wise. I don't think any of them can come. I think Boubacar Traoré looks a good player. Adama, I love him to pieces. But if you're going to try and get back to where we were, he's not having the impact we need him to. I think maybe 3 or 4. If we want to sit in mid-table, then we've probably got 6 or 7 that can be there. But in terms of absolute outright quality, I'm kind of with Tyler. It's Sarr and Neves, Nunes, maybe Kilman on his day. Other than that, we're pretty bang average if we're going to be completely honest.
See what you've done, Vorney. Look what you've done. You've turned our intermediate knocker and you've turned him into Tyler. Tyler, how many can go on the journey?
That's what I was grimacing. So I was trying to think. I've got a few written down, but I've pretty much said everyone Knocker said, and I've ticked Ait-Nouri potentially. There's a player there somewhere.
If we don't sell him,
Bueno could develop into one, but it's still very early days. But yeah, I'd tick Sarr, Kilman, Neves, Nunes, and Ait-Nouri as what looked like genuine.
Hopefully, I can drop in Matheus Nunes, a £40 million Brazilian forward, into that as well. Hopefully he can be on the journey as well, because he's quite another expensive sub. So hopefully not. Great.
He's got the goal scoring record to be on the current journey.
Oh dear me. Thank you for your question, Vorney. Thank you, Kev. Here's a quick question from Jake as well. We all hope this is the case. Jake Walker asks, Kuna debut at the Villa. My goodness me, Jake. I really hope so. I don't think we need a particular lift. I know the fans are split on Man United, and it's great to debate. I think there's a lift anyway. I think most people kind of expected that we might lose. It wasn't a dread performance. I can see a plan. I can see a philosophy again. But I think Kuna coming into the middle of a 3 up front makes Wolves a different beast, because I like Costa, but he hasn't really done as what I thought he would do. Jimenez doesn't look the same. But if you've got him through the middle, you've got an out ball, you've got a ball over the top, you've got a ball in behind defenders that we haven't had. And if that's the case then, and you've got Matheus Nunes running with a ball as well, I think it turns Wolves into a completely different monster. And hopefully we see that at Villa Park on Wednesday, because that would be a nice start to it. So, yes, Jake, I think all the boys are in agreement. We'd like Kuna to start at Villa. Thank you for the questions. Those are for the Twitter questions this week. You're listening to episode 48 of the Wolves Report. Myself, Brian Lester, Mark Knock, and Chris Tyler. Getting to the end of the show now. We've taken your question, talked about Matheus Nunes. We've analysed the 2 recent games, 1 win, 1 loss. Let's look ahead to Aston Villa v Wolverhampton Wanderers. On paper, and regardless, on and off paper, it's a great result for Villa today. A bit of a worry to any fans watching that. They tucked in, they did a proper job on Spurs. Second half, Spurs had no shots on target. Villa did a total job. Whether Villa made them look bad or Spurs were bad, or it was a combination of both. Either way, you go to Spurs and win 2-0. It's a great result. Nocky, tough game ahead on Wednesday.
Very tough. I mean, that result today might actually have done us a little bit of a favour, because we know the arrogance that runs through Villa fans. It's
Here we go.
I think they'll expect to just turn up and beat us on Wednesday. They owe us one. We all know that. We were there last season. We remember that, and we always will. But they've always had that element that they think they're better than they are. So if they carry that arrogance into the game, and we can hit them with pace, we can bring Kuna in, we can solidify that midfield. And it just seems to be we have a little bit of a hoodoo over them at the moment. It doesn't seem to matter how bad we're playing. We seem to be able to just pluck something out against them. So I'm probably clutching at straws, but I'm going to hold on to that.
We'll absolutely have that. Tyler, your thoughts ahead of Aston Villa v Wolverhampton Wanderers on Wednesday evening, and I believe you're both going to the game as well. So yeah, we're all looking forward to that.
Are you wearing that Villa shirt you've got on now?
Oh, he's done that, and he's done
Oh,
that.
there's no need for that. Happy New Year.
I'll move on. Difficult, isn't it? I mean, they did do a job on Spurs today. I thought they looked excellent, to be honest. They look like what I want us to look like. And I don't want to say that about Villa, but they were nice and solid at the back. They had options in midfield. Watkins on the break is hopefully a similar type to Kuna. Like I said, he can come both ways. It'll be a tough game, but the games will quickly start to run out, and it's irrelevant now who we're playing or where we're playing, and we need to start picking up points. So, can the team? You'll probably ask us about what we think of the team. There's got to be changes, hasn't there? Hwang surely can't keep his place. I can't see Moutinho starting 3 games in a week, so you'll think there'll be at least 2 changes, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, any manager anywhere, he's not going to want to lose a local derby. So I don't know, some of the continental managers are a bit more cautious in these games. So as Nocky suggested earlier on, would this be a game to go 4-3-3 to match them up? Because Villa don't play with a 10. I think they play a 4-2-3-1 as well kind of setup. So if we went in and put the 3 in there to really stifle things, if Boubacar's fit, he can go box to box all day. If Nunes can go box to box all day with Neves tidying up, I'd be quite happy with that. But Villa look organised, don't they? They've got a manager with a great reputation. It wasn't a pretty performance today. It wasn't sexy, but it was effective. You stopped Harry Kane, you've stopped Son, and you've broken, scored 2 great goals. Like Villa or not, whatever. This isn't credit, but you have to acknowledge that that's a good performance and a good result. And will Villa come at Wolves on Wednesday? I don't think so. I think it'll be cagey. I was watching the first half of that game, and I thought this game absolutely stinks of the worst 0-0 we've ever seen in our lives. And I've got to be honest, after watching today, I'm taking 0-0 right now. That might not be ambitious, but it's a local derby. We don't want to lose, and obviously it means more bragging rights. And after what happened last season, they'll be desperate to put one over on Wolves. Absolutely desperate. And after seeing us lose and those winning at Spurs, they'll think that's a possibility. And you make some interesting comments about some of their fans' views, Nocky, and you're probably right in some quarters. And I know, Tyler, your neighbours are your Villa as well. That's where Nocky got his top from. So,
not wearing this again.
Yeah, don't do that, mate. Not when Tyler's on. So going to the team then, Tyler. How are you setting up? I want to know your teams and why.
So I'm in goal. Semedo, Kilman, Collins, Ait-Nouri, Neves, Nunes, Traore, Adama, Podence, and the new guy from.
Ooh, that's got a nice.
On the basis that Hwang basically looks like he's never played football in his life before, and I think we'll need to replace Giles' legs with Traore's in midfield.
Nocky, how much pace has that team gone in? So Semedo, Ait-Nouri, Nunes, Boubacar, Adama, Podence, and Kuna, all those guys have got legs. That's probably the most mobile Wolves team I'd have ever seen.
I would go with that exact same team. I don't think he will. I think he will keep Hwang in. I think it'll be Hwang, Podence. I think he'll keep with Costa. I think Kuna comes off from the bench. That's what I think he'll do. I think it'll be very similar to the way we set up against Man United. I don't expect there to be too many changes. Hope I'm wrong, and I don't know the manager well enough to really get inside his head yet, but my gut instinct tells me it's not going to be a great deal different in terms of personnel. And I think he'll look to the bench to try and win us a football match. It'll be a case for me. I know you think they won't stay. They won't come at us. I think they will. I think they'll come at us early, try and put us under pressure. Our tactic will be to stay in the game and then try and push on last 15, 20 minutes. That's what I think we'll try and do. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love us to go with Tyler's team because I think there's bags of pace and ambition in there. Not sure Lopetegui's that kind of manager. I think he's going to want to make us solid, hard to beat, frustrate Villa, break it down, be a little bit ugly, and then break when we get our opportunities. That's what I think he'll do.
Yeah, some really good points, and yeah, I totally get that. The same point that you made about Moutinho surely applies to Costa. We can't expect those 2 players to play 3 games of that intensity in a week, can we?
Well, if your plan's to get 60 minutes out of him and then change it, yeah, because Kuhn's going to come on at some point, isn't he? I mean, we're assuming he's going to play straight down the middle. No guarantee of that. He could play wide in one of the 2 wide attacking positions, and you could rotate him for Hwang, because Hwang dropped into central attacker against Man United yesterday, so there's no reason we can assume that. We're just making an assumption on Kuna.
And that's true. And if you're prepared to play Hwang as the number 9, I'm confident you'll play Kuna as the number 9. Now, I could see the thinking, but Costa just wasn't having an effect on the game, was he?
No, but...
And Hwang was?
No,
absolutely.
He's a house, isn't he? We know exactly what he does. We know he's a wind-up merchant. He gets inside people's heads. He may want that kind of player in a game like this when you know you're going to be under pressure. You know it's going to be a little bit ferocious. The crowds are going to be up. You might want a player like that in there. I mean, I'm absolutely with you too. Kuna starts for me. He comes straight in. He starts. He's had enough time. I know he's only officially signed today, but he's been with the squad a week, hasn't he? So he will have been training with them. He'll understand they'll have played with each other. I've just got a suspicion he's going to keep it very similar to what we saw at Man United. Hope I'm wrong, but that's just the way I feel it's going to go.
Yeah, I get that, and like he just seemed like now he's trying to get a bit of consistency. Not so much the horses for courses that I thought he would do, but it looks like he's trying to get a consistent 11. But I don't see how João Moutinho can play those 3 games of that intensity in that time. I don't think the same for Costa as well, regardless if he's played an hour or not. At that age, to be blasting that out is a lot to ask. But I'd like to go and agree with you guys and make it a hat-trick. I think that team is excellent. I think there's pace at fullback. I think there's box-to-box left and right of Neves, who can control in front of the 2 centre-backs. Adama can beat anybody. The run he did at Villa last year was the only thing we did the whole of the first half. We nearly beat the whole team and scored. It would have been goal of the month. That would have been fun, wouldn't it, Noko? Podence, who gets a lot of stick, and I'm going to want to move on away from that briefly. And Kuna as well. Just want to bring in this question, and this is a really good point. Paul, 2020-11 asks, genuine question, Ron, why does Podence take stick when he's our only attacker that creates, while Adama, who does nothing but run to the byline, get a free pass from our supporters? I think it's a really good question. For whatever reason, Podence seems to, don't get me wrong, I think Adama gets a lot of stick as well. He seems to split the fan base. Now, a lot of people give Podence stick, and you know what? He does overplay, and he does try the sexy things too much. But you know what? It doesn't stop him doing it the next time. He's somebody that will try that trick, and he's brave enough to do it. And sometimes it's his moment of magic that creates a bit of space and opens a game up. So I'm with you, Paul. I agree. I like Podence. He's infuriating. He's frustrating. But he's something that other teams don't have, in the fact that he could be in an area, he could do something, and it happens. The little step over the little dummy, it might not work. But when it does work, most of the time it's going to end up in creating a chance, which is something that Wolves are short of. So, yeah. Are you in agreement with there, guys?
Yeah, I think players like Podence are always going to get stick because of what they try to do. But for me, he's our most creative attacking player. Adama, I do think, takes a lot of stick as well, but you know exactly what you get from Adama. But for me, Podence is one of the first names on the team sheet because he's someone who can get you at the pitch, and he can take players on, and he can create things for you. And he's got a fantastic touch as well. You saw that in the area when the ball was dropping 30 yards over his head. He brought it down, got us into an attacking position. So for me, I don't understand why he gets so much stick as he does.
Great question and comment, Paul. Really appreciate your contribution. You're currently watching episode 48 of the Wolves Report with Chris Tyler, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. Almost at the end of the show now. And it comes to the fun part of the show, boys. The bit you've all been looking forward to. It's time to predict your outcome from Aston Villa v Wolves. Your first, let's start with Tyler. Let's just get it over and done with. Let's have your first goal scorer and your score prediction, please.
He can't go
Tyler.
there.
Well, yeah, even I can't say Villa are going to win, so I'll have to go with just a horrible 0-0.
Taking that right now.
I can't see us winning, but I can't predict Villa winning. 0-0.
On the fence, Tyler with New Year's splinters down the middle of his cheeks, but there we go. Tyler, thank you. Knocker?
I quite fancy a 1-1. I think Buendia will open the scoring, and then Kuna off the bench to level late on.
Ooh, we'll take some of that. But it always makes me laugh. Football's such a funny game, because if we were winning the game and drew, we'd be so disappointed. But if we were losing and got a point like that, we'd be here next week, and we'd be absolutely bouncing around the show.
Just don't want to lose it, Buendia.
No, we don't want to lose, but it's a massive game. They're going to be confident. And you know what? I don't know how John McGuinness, and I don't know how Luiz's, but it looked like they both picked up a knee and a hamstring injury today. Whether that affects, I don't know. But regardless, I just don't want Wolves to lose. Ideally, a win. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to go with a Wolves win. I don't know why, because I don't really believe it. My heart says we'll probably lose. Sorry, my heart says we'll win because I'm stupid and I'm addicted to Wolves, but my head says we'll probably lose. So we'll go 2-0. Kuna 2 goals on his debut. Get in there. Thank you so much to Mark Knock and Chris Tyler, who've extended their contract with the Wolves Report until the end of the 22-23 season. Thank you for your contribution over the last year, gentlemen. It's very much appreciated. This has been episode 48 of the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and I wish you all a happy new year. Up the Wolves.